Mm-hmm.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the Herschel Talkers presenting College Football Hour. Want to give you guys a quick recap of Georgia Tech and Ohio State, Michigan. How are we
Yes,
doing?
sir. Doing well. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving out there.
Yep, agreed. And once again, thank you so much to our sponsor, TalkingDogs.com, for letting us post and get the word out there when we update new information. Also, to anybody who is on the website and regularly posts, we would be more than glad to have you on if you want to express some opinions. Tell me when I'm wrong or support us when we're right. But with that said, Trey, let's go ahead and get your feedback on the Georgia Tech game today.
Yeah, I thought Georgia looked really good today. Took care of business, 45-0 over the Nerds. Stetson Bennett looked really good today. I know I've always been a Bennett hater, but he made some really good throws. He's really accurate, 14 of 20 for 255 and 4 touchdowns. Bowers, who whatever tight end awards there are, if he doesn't get them this year, I think they're delusional. He had 3 receptions, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Looks great. I think Dan Orlovsky on the ABC telecast that he looks like George Kittle. I'll say Travis Kelce Jr. Kittle, great. But overall, defense looked great. Anytime you hold a team to 45-0, hold them 0 is great. Kenny McIntosh looked great. 2 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown. Just overall beat down. There's a couple of running plays, that they could have tightened up to be real nitpicky on the defense, but all in all, they held them to 98 yards rushing, held them to 168. I mean, under 200 yards against any FBS, or this was a Power 5 team's impressive, but just overall beat down, took care of business. No injuries from what I heard, which is great. Also great to see George Pickens. He did get in some series, and he had 1 catch for 5 yards, so that was great. What was your thoughts, Sean? A great one.
Agreed. Yeah, I think whenever you're trying to assess, championship teams, what you're really kind of looking for is, do they kind of answer the call or the challenge? And this Georgia team, I think, has consistently done that throughout the year.
Right.
And it hasn't been a season that's been without, controversy or challenges. I mean, the most recent one being, longtime left tackle Jeremy Sawyer getting hurt. I thought he was going to be back for the week. Apparently, he re-injured that.
Right.
Patrick Jones has stepped up. Losing their top pass rusher at the time, Adam Anderson, was a big blow. And really the uncertainty concerning the quarterback position, Stetson Bennett, who last week, I think there was kind of some questions surrounding his performance. But, to his credit, he stepped up, like you said, and played a heck of a game. Again, the talent disparity, probably contributes some to that. But Tech was better than, Charleston Southern, and, they answered. They covered the spread. And so and it's big not having injuries. So, from the leadership standpoint, it seems like everybody's dialed in, and, you have confidence that they're going to give their best performance next week.
Yeah, I agree. And I think maybe get a chance of getting Chris Smith back in secondary, and then maybe questionable about Sawyer, which I think Broderick Jones still probably taking it. He's still serviceable. But the big thing is how are they going to handle the Will Anderson kid, who's great for Alabama. But we'll definitely dive deep into that next week and break down that. So great one for the Dogs. And I guess we'll jump over and talk to the great win by Michigan. I guess we can call it a blowout, 42-27 over the Buckeyes. I don't think Angry Scott's going to be on the phone, probably not in the mood, but give us their initial thoughts of that, Sean. Great win for Michigan.
It was, and, again, I did call the Ohio State, blowout. So, I'll gladly eat my crow on that one. But the one thing we did, I think we all kind of said was that for Michigan to win this game, they were going to need to kind of control the ball, dominate through the run. And then, they were going to have to really dominate Ohio State defensively. And they did all of those things. I know Scott, I think, is going to have to come on here at some point and eat a lot of crow. He was referring to Ryan Day as an offensive genius. And as I kind of alluded to last weekend, offensive geniuses don't
not so much
against, good units. And this Michigan unit, although they're highly ranked, I mean, Ohio State's offense is way more talented, and Ryan Day once again got pushed around. I mean,
he did.
He's just kind of an above average coach, I think. I mean, he kind of has more talent and he does a lot against inferior opponents, but when he gets somebody who's great, he gets punched in the mouth. I mean, I'll say this too, and believe me, I criticize Kirby quite regularly, but I'll say that whenever he has a team that's more talented than his opponent, he's never lost a game like Ryan Day has.
Big game, yeah.
This notion or idea that Ryan Day is somehow the next great coach in college football, or really is remotely as good of a coach as Kirby Smart, just needs to stop. I mean, he just he just cleans up against inferior opponents and then looks like an idiot. I mean, I could not even find Ryan Day on the sideline past halftime. It looked like he was hiding behind that playbook. I mean, Ohio State looked completely disheveled. You had quarterbacks and on the sideline. I mean, they're sitting there getting stupid calls, throwing people's helmet all over the place. And, Ohio State's defense, what a joke that is. I mean, and they have a lot of talent. They have better talent than Alabama does on defense. But you never know it because they completely got carved up. And spit out. I mean, you should be embarrassed if you're an Ohio State fan, and you should really be pushing Ryan Day to make some changes. Like, Scott talked about the former DC, he just got moved back down to position coach. You need to make wide-scale changes. Get a real DC in there, because you're not going to be able to finesse your way through college football. Again, it's just kind of the story of his career. Big game, and he disappears.
Yeah. Might be the new Big Game Bob, Big Game Stoops, right?
Right. Well, and for
Big Game Day.
And for Michigan, too, this game could be so huge because I think that I think Scott brought up, what is it, like Michigan's lost 17 out of the last 19. Okay. I mean, a win like this followed by, a Big Ten, championship win next week could really kind of turn the page a little bit, maybe even the scales more recruiting-wise. Because Michigan was definitely not as talented as Ohio State on paper.
Yeah.
I mean, and you could just see it. I mean, Ohio State was going through motions and still kind of keeping the game competitive. So this might give Michigan a chance to actually get comparable athletes to finally compete with Ohio State.
Yeah. And then good for Harbaugh too. 0-5. He always had the monkey on his back. He always, they were showing all the stats, never could beat Ohio State. It's a good win for him. And the Haskins, he's 1-5 now. And the Haskins kid, great game. They just ran it down their throat, took over. He had 28 carries, 169 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And you can tell on the last couple of drives, Michigan was just pushing them around and stomped on their throat. But hey, good win for them, 42-27 at home. Looks like they're going to be plugged into playoffs. Got a interesting matchup against Wisconsin next week, Big Ten championship. Don't choke that away. But
and Trey, did they play during the regular season?
What's that?
Did Michigan and Wisconsin play during the regular season?
I don't think so. I think they're in the other division. I could be wrong. I know Michigan's only lost. Oh, yeah, actually, they beat them. I'm looking at it now. They beat them October 2nd, 38-17. So Michigan already beat them. I know it's hard to beat a team twice, but I'm sure they'll go back and look at the film and break it down. Looks like a favorable matchup,
It does. And I think unlike maybe, in some other situations, I think this is one where this is a big win for Michigan. And, again, I mean, they're playing for something more next week. I mean, with the win, they're in the playoffs. So, I mean, it's the first time Michigan's sniffed, a national championship or a potential national championship in a long time. So I think Harbaugh will have them dialed in.
Right.
Really, you got to give credit where credit's due. People are quick to, knock the guy, for, struggling, for a number of years against his rivals. But this year, nobody was really expecting them to be playoff material, and yet here they are. They're right up.
Yeah, it's back against the wall. Hey, and the way the Big Ten's been handing out
he gave Harbaugh the talent that Ryan Day seems to dupe to coming into Columbus, like what they could do.
Oh, yeah. Hey, and the way Big Ten's giving out contracts, if you're a Michigan fan, might be looking at a 10-year extension for Harbaugh, right?
Yeah, well, and I mean, part of that too with, people were like, why don't they look at moving on from Harbaugh or whatever else. And, I mean, that's why I think Penn State was actually fairly smart for, holding on to Franklin like that. I mean, again, you're not going to be Nick Saban where you pretty much got a division locked up every year and, you're at least got a 50-50 shot at a playoff spot. But, you're going to have your chance to get in the playoffs with them, every, couple of years or so. And, there's no point in necessarily walking away from that, unless if there are other compelling reasons that kind of force your hand to do so.
Right.
So once again, Ryan Day, that he's above average, he's no genius. Big day for Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. More importantly, the Nats once again go down in Atlanta. Georgia will be back there next week to hopefully poach the elephant.
Nerds.
Yep. Go Dogs.
There we go. Got Crimson Tide next week. I'll be. Hey, go Dogs! We got down. It looks like we might have a special guest next Tuesday as well.
Yep, that's right. Hugh from 247 will be on there.
That's awesome. Sounds good. Well, thanks for checking in, and hope everybody has a good weekend. Good Thanksgiving. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.